Welcome back to the weekend show. Joining us right now is Mr. Segun Shoumi, who is the spokesman for the Atiku Abubakar presidential campaign. Thank you for joining us on today's
Thank you for
program.
having me. Thank you for having me.
To his right is Mr. Tajuddin Bisimila, who is the senatorial aspirant for Kogi West.
APC.
APC. Thank you for joining us on today's program.
Thank you.
So we're going to be looking at the 2019 elections as we typically do, but we're also going to horn down into issues because another thing on this program is that we don't just want to politic and speak about the flaws, the strengths, the pros, the cons of both major political parties, but what we would also like to focus on are the issues that they represent. Atiku Abubakar, former vice president, is very keen on restructuring. What does this mean?
Well, I think he's very keen on a lot of things. Restructuring just ties it all in. He's keen on job creation. He's keen on getting the country united. He's keen on opening up the economy and allowing private sector dictate and discipline to drive it. And he's keen on security. But in trying to, drill down these activities, one thing keeps coming up. How do you sustain it? How do you get all the other aspects of the country to work well for everybody? And how do you get the country to be peaceful and people believe in the nation and get them to stand behind their nation and push for its greatness? You just find out that the big elephant in the whole conversation is restructuring. And so he's been on that agenda for a while. The first time he talked about restructuring was in 1995 during the Constitutional Conference of General Sani Abacha-led government then, and he has stuck to it since then. In 2007, he penned a big book on restructuring. He reviewed it in 2011, and he still stayed on it. Why is the question? Because you just have to ask yourself, if you call yourself a Federal Republic of Nigeria, it supposes that you're supposed to run a situation where the states or the units are stronger and efficiently able to look after themselves and contribute value. And the center is supposed to be able to, keep them all together and manage the difficult things that they can do by themselves, like international politics, like agreement with bilateral relationship, like security and external aggression and all of that. And Atiku thinks that the vast majority of Nigerians can be talking about restructuring, and then you want to lead them and you say that's not an important issue. And therefore, he's convinced.
The vast majority of Nigerians.
Yeah, there are a lot of Nigerians. Some of them call it resource control. Some of them call it true federalism. Some of them call it restructuring. Some of them call it devolution of power. But the bottom line is that it's all about what kind of federation are we running.
But there has been so much money pumped into different conferences. We have the 2014 Confab report that was never implemented by the Goodluck Jonathan administration. Recently, Malam Nasiru El-Rufai, governor of Kaduna State, the former APC chairman, John Odigi Oyegun, came together with a group of people to also, give a report on their own term of restructuring. So is he going to adopt one of these measures or adopt one of these policies put together by the past administration?
I think one of the...
going to form a new group to look into the restructuring issues?
I think one of the reasons why the restructuring conversation keeps coming up every time and nothing happens and then it keeps coming up and nothing happens and it keeps coming up is because you've never had a leader in charge of the country who has the courage to follow through on what is expected in restructuring. For instance, His Excellency, the former Vice President, will tell you that there are things that you can do very quickly if you really are serious. You can use an executive order to take the things that are on the concurrent list. By concurrent list, what you mean is that those things that the federal government can do and the state government can also engage in. He says that, why do you want to have a federal government doing Federal Ministry of Agriculture when you don't even have enough land there? Why do you want to have the federal government doing some of those things that you can really give to the state? He believes that if you want to restructure, you can sign off all of that to the state and let the money that usually accompanied go to the state so that they can take care of that. He'll tell you that how can you be a country having a lot of security challenges, putting in soldiers to do internal security issues, and you're not willing to conceive the idea of how do we have multi-layer policing system where community can have their own police, the states can have their own police, and the federal government can have the Nigerian police force. And how do you put a framework in place for them to know how they're supposed to do it and what the terms of engagement will be, like you find in other countries. Those kinds of things can be done unless you sit down and really, really willing to restructure. He will tell you something like, how do you want to encourage states like maybe Nasarawa, maybe Kogi, maybe any of the other states in the country that have natural resources in the ground there, like Kaolin and all of that. How do you bring it up? If you need to keep running back to Abuja.
Let me bring you in here because you're running for senator in Kogi West under the platform of the All Progressive Congress. Your party has been accused of being bereft of any ideologies. You just do politics for doing politics' sake. So what ideologies do you intend to implement? What's your blueprint plan? Why should the people of Kogi vote you into power? Because your governor has also been accused of not doing very much.
Yeah, thank you very much. First of all, we disagree with you for saying APC has no any ideology at all. If you see the trend of things, you know definitely APC has been able to achieve a lot. It's only the nature of Mr. President is not the talkative type. It's more of actions. He talk less about the activities because.
I'm talking about your state now. What
so now, I just want
to.
So, but coming back to my state, you know, Kogi State should be, if not the richest state in the country, because we have solid mineral and commercial deposit to the tune of 29. And it is unfortunate, even though recently we discovered crude oil between the boundary of Kogi and Enugu, but unfortunately we've not been able to tap into these opportunities, in the sense that the past leaders, they are probably like some ideology, maybe because of age and the rest.
So what's your ideology
but
as of
like
today?
me, as a young man who wears the shoes, know where it pinches, first thing is to create job. And you cannot do that by encouraging people to key into government job. Like, if you look at Kogi land in terms of agriculture, we have about the best land. Export Promotion Council come out with a research that 3 crops can give Nigeria $20 billion every year, which is namely cocoa, sesame, and cashew nut. And unfortunately for us, Kogi can produce these 3 crops because of the kind of weather we have. So with that, when you encourage people, we have good land, you can encourage the youth to go into agriculture, not to go into it and you don't know where to take it to. You go to do it in form of, you have the value chain, which I'm already doing in my state, of course, for them to export. So by the time you have to tell them to believe in their strength. Because you know one of the problem of the youth is maybe when you finish, you start looking for white-collar jobs. It's nowhere.
Talking about jobs, let me quickly bring in Mr. Shomi here.
Yes.
The statistics are really, really frightening.
Yes, they
About
are.
3 million young people are churned out from the tertiary education system into the labor market annually, and just about 100,000 of them are absorbed into the labor market. What is Atiku coming back to do as president when the PDP administration, under which he served 8 years as vice president, presided over this same process that has led to a very protracted system of unemployment in Nigeria as we see today?
Now, I need to first of all help you remember what the situation was between 1999 and 2003 and 2007. Lest you take a telescopic view of how things are today and you lump it to how you thought it was at that time. The only time where the federal government of Nigeria as a nation grew and expanded its economy and created a lot of jobs were the years between 1999 to about 2003, 2005. And why was that? Because they were running a lot of creative ideas that opened up the economy and allowed private sector people to take control. Let me start from your industry. You can count the number of media houses that existed in Nigeria in 1999, and you can see the number that exists now. That's job creation. You can count the number of telecom industry that we had in Nigeria, the number. You can count what was happening in the downstream sector with the Wando and some of these oil companies. What am I trying to tell you? You cannot create jobs unless you have created jobs or have the mindset of a job creator. In the case of Atiku Abubakar, as at today, he has about 50,000 people under direct employment and close to 250.
What is the percentage of that within the context
of the larger
unemployment?
I'm going somewhere. I'm going somewhere.
Yeah.
I'm taking it somewhere. It's how you think about these things. It's you need to know what it takes for an employer to create jobs. You need to know how to open up the economy and allow private sector people to come and create jobs. You need to know how to make the rules. Let me give you some of the things that they're doing wrong today and why it's difficult for jobs to be created. You have to make up your mind. Are you going to run a free market economy? Or are you going to run some kind of over-controlled socialist economy? If you opt for the free market economy, that means that you must liberalize the way you control the industry. You can't come up every day with fines to industry people. You can't come up every day with harassment on issues that make it difficult for investors to come in. You can't slam one of your biggest job creators like MTN with fines every day. What it does is that it scares all the other people that need to come into your country to create jobs. The way you create jobs is you sit together with the policymakers and you put job creation as a fundamental objective driving principle of your policy. And then you encourage the system to open up a little bit and you relax a bit, believing that if you allow them to create the jobs and create the industry, you can then go back to tax them. You create ecosystem that allow young people to be pulled according to their skill set, and you put a legislative framework that allows them to be able to access capital. You start up venture capitals. It's a lot.
Shegun, theory is one thing, but implementation is
That
another.
was why I started with the fact that he has the ability even as an individual. It's not very easy to create the kinds of job he's creating. And so he understands what job creators and investors are looking for. And when you sit there and you're engaging them on how to do it and making life easy for them.
An report from one of the leading online newspapers showed that Atiku Abubakar, the former vice president, who you're also portraying right now as an astute entrepreneur, found it difficult to pay salaries to some of his university teachers. The teachers in his university. AAU.
Let me explain that to you.
Okay.
See, he started Abdi American University a couple of years ago, and for close to 10 or 15, or so 11 years now, he had always supported them with a subvention that is heavy from his other investment. And then he then said to them, look guys, you're almost at 10, 11 years now. You should begin to take off your own burden and begin to pay your own bills a little bit so that I can start reducing the subvention I give you to encourage you to be sustainable. And so maybe a couple of days of lateness and they couldn't pull through. And of course, when people are used to having it really nice, they can't shower. But that's all over now. You're not going to find that anywhere. He still had to put the subvention back, which he had given them. And you ask, why would anybody even start to invest and be subventioning it up till now? It's simply because Atiku creates jobs, creates businesses mainly for the job creation and the economic development component of it than for profit. It's not sustainable for anybody to create a university as big as that and keep subventioning it for that long. But the point is, do you know the capacity of a university in a town to be the growth pole for that town and the kinds of job it can create? That's the thinking of a job creator.
Let me bring in Tajuddin very quickly. I mean, Nigerian youths are not smiling. There are no jobs, there's poverty and hunger in the land. What makes you so confident that millions of Nigerian youths will go to the polls in 2019 and vote back President Buhari into office as president?
Yeah, the problem of unemployment in Nigeria does not start with President Buhari. I think...
But it was voted in to fix it.
To fix it. But there's no quick fix to any problem. It takes a process. Even though for a child to grow, it takes a process. It's one thing after the other. First is to lay the solid foundation for future development, which the APC government is already doing now. The problem of unemployment is just about our mentality in quotes. The syllabus in the university are the syllabus we inherit after independence. We train people to take job. But all over the world now, you are trained to create job. So, and that's the enable environment the Mr. President is putting in place.
How is it creating that environment? What specifically is it doing?
If you look at this anchor ground in agriculture, like every farmers is given in terms of, look at in Far North now in terms of rice production and the rest. So they will give you grant. Most of the farmers that cannot even make 100, 200, most of them are millionaires now. So most of the biggest asset we have in Nigeria to create employment is agriculture.
Mr. Showumi, are you confident that the opposition can displace the Buhari administration from power?
Before I go to the...
What are the indices?
Yes, before I go into that...
1 minute more, please.
Before I go into that, I'll just tell you this. You can forgive the Buhari-led administration if they had kept the jobs at the level they met it. The major challenge that they have because of the mishmash of their policies is that they have actually lost close to 10 million jobs. And right now, for the first time in the history of our known existence, Nigeria is rated as the most desperately poor nation on earth. Why were they able to go that route? They brought a mindset of someone who wanted to over-control a liberalized economy. They had the multiplicity of exchange rate, which affected the currency. They had policies which said investors could not take their forex back when they couldn't do their capital back, which meant that people just took their capital through the back door and ran away. Those are the things. Now, how do we plan to solve all of these problems? Look, you first of all have to know that for you to grow an economy like Nigeria and keep it boisterous, you need to be someone who thinks as a business person and runs an all-inclusive government. You cannot be a parochial person who seeks to say, I belong to just one part, even though you're saying you belong to no one. Then you ask, what are the policy directive of your government and what is the mode of engagement? Look what's going on in America now. Because Donald Trump has always been a job creator himself and a businessman, you can see that in spite of every other challenge he has, he's growing the economy. The major problem that Nigeria has right now, one of them is that you have a very young population with a mean average of about 18, 17 years. That means that you can double your population in 10, 20 years. Therefore, you must have to start thinking creatively on how to grow the economy and how to create. Otherwise, what you're going to have is that you're going to have a lot of young people who could just wake up one day and just say enough is enough, and that's a crisis. And that's why you need someone who has experience in job creation to come fix the economy and to come win the election.
Mr. Shagood, Mr. Tajuddin, thank you so much for your time. Unfortunately, I would have loved to give you another chance at
but at least even if it is 1 minute.
30 seconds, okay.
Yeah, I didn't agree with him totally that Mr. President is one-sided president. He's a president for all, and he has always been sincere in his approach to issues. The problem of Nigeria are majorly caused by the past administration. And most of them are still in the system. If they are complaining, the present CBN governor is a product of PDP. It's part of the team. But this government is sincere, and we've been living on borrowed life, that we are not sincere with what is on ground. When we have problem, we throw money to it to make the economy stabilize. But this man has taken us to do that. Let's face the reality. If we are in recession, we know we are in recession. When we are out of recession, we know we are out of recession, and we'll be focused. And when we leave poverty, we know we leave poverty instead of trying to put money. People who are complaining, what are they doing before? Nothing. If you are hardworking and you have something doing before, you will not complain of this government. But people are complaining.
Jobs are dying. Jobs are dying.
Mr. Tajuddin, Mr. Shagood, thank you so much for your time. Unfortunately, we have another set of political guests coming up on the program. Don't go anywhere, and we'll be right back on the Weekend Show with more politics.